Hello there, and welcome to this arty corner of YouTube. Now stop saying little corner because, don't want to limit it, but this arty corner of YouTube, my arty corner. I'm Angela, and I love to draw, I love to create, I love to explore patterns and shapes and all kinds of things, and I love to encourage others to draw and share with you my view on things, perhaps things that are going on in life, not so much in the world because that will get us all down, but the way that I like to do art and things that attract my attention, which can change from time to time. Now, I have shown you these pages before, and thank you if you've subscribed. If you haven't yet, please click that button. It doesn't cost you a penny, just a teeny bit of energy to click that link. Thumbs up for videos are always most welcome, and it just really shows a bit of support for what I'm doing, or lets me know I'm on the right track. And I'm sure if I'm not, people will let me know in the comments, which is what they're there for. But I did show you these pages in my last video, and I have put all of this together in a ring-bound journal, what it's going to be. I've ordered some bigger rings because I've realised these aren't going to take that many pages. They'll take a fair amount, but paper I'm using is a bit thicker. So I've got some temporary, possibly not so temporary, covers on. I just made these with 2 sheets of A4 card and stuck them together around the edges, and I cut a notch in this end so I could potentially put stuff in there. And at the back I put a notch, in the top. I've left a space so there's like a pocket there. So I thought that could be useful for things like tags and goodness knows what. So these are things I've been looking at. I haven't done any new ones because my mind's been on other things. Showed you these, which are some of my latest drawings of Create and the Intricate. And I've taken parts of this and shown you how I've drawn them. This is one I was working on. Now, I finished this yesterday, so I've got these 2 as well. This I do like here. These are 2 I've done since then. I thought I'd picked up the pen that had this ink in it, which I think is the green-black ink from Diamine. But it had twilight in it, but I quite like that. So this is something I'm going to look at. Now I'm getting used to using coloured inks for drawing with. It may be that I have the darkest colour at the front and it gradually gets paler as you go away. Odd thing to say, when I put thick lines in, or thicken lines, it puts things in shadow and pushes them backwards, but darker colours seem to like to come forward. I don't know if you agree, but that's how it looks to me. The mistier in the background. And this one I've just finished, I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. You see, recognise that? Decided to use that pattern here. I think it's from 2 videos ago. But with that, just those bits, that bits, rather than the squares in between. This is interesting here. I've got some spirals in and these weird things here, and it really is just playing about with things. And this, I'll tell you something now. This is yesterday's, which I did, and there seems to be a lot of really positive comments about it, so thank you. I really did enjoy doing this. That gap, I've done a bit of journaling about how much I enjoyed doing this, how much I so easily forget what I enjoy doing if I don't do it on a regular basis, kind of thing, and how much I enjoy using chalk pastels with these non-water soluble inks. The silver bits on here, I don't know, let's hope we can get them here. They're still silvery, but have you noticed they've gone a bit greeny blue? There we go, look, shiny, shiny. That's because I used a clear glaze pen from Sakura to coat the silver with, to stop it brushing off and going everywhere. And it's picked some of the greeny coloured ink up and dissolved it, and I've got the most wonderful colours in places, the most wonderful. Up here, do you remember, I don't know if you remember this one, the top, that glitter was pure silver. It's now gone greenish silver. It's got green and the silver in it. That's simply because the glaze picked up the colour, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I've got bits of silver in places, bits of green, and it's just totally serendipitous. Totally unexpected, and what a serendipitous result. So that now, it was the glitter I was concerned about rather than the chalk, because the chalk's been mostly rubbed into the paper, so it's not likely to shift very much as long as it's not handled too much. But the glitter would have done, and I'm quite happy now. So that's done a really nice job on it. This bit here in the middle was really bright silver. Now it's just, let's see if we can catch the light, it's just green and sparkly, which I think is just perfect. And I did the same on here, but that one picked up some of the blue, but these ones didn't, because they are away from the ink. And here, the white dots I put some white dots in here, and they've picked up some of the green ink, and I'm fine with that. And here again, there's the silver dots, and they've stayed silver because there's no green ink underneath them. So I'm quite happy with that. So I am going to turn the page over and work on the back. I am. And I just want to get this page out for some inspiration. Just put all of these together, which is a bit of a pain, I know, for you, but we're good. We're good. So I'm going to do some more variations. I'll show you some of the motifs I've been drawing and work on them. 2 ticks. Oh, all snotty nose now. Ruler. Need a ruler. So, because I much prefer to put straightish lines in, to begin with at least. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Just to give me that sort of like a nice self-contained area for everything. Yes, it's likely to spill out, but at least it won't spill out to the edge of the page. So there we go. And I don't, as you know, I'm not averse to using pencils. Not at all. Okie dokes, let's have a look. So, oh, what colour shall I use? I've got Oxblood in this one. What have I got in here? Oh, hang on, I made notes. What's in my pink one? No, I wanted the purple one, Angela. Yeah, because what is it? Oh no, it's pink in the Oxblood. Oxblood in... No, Oxblood in there. What's in the pink pen? Oh, it's green-black. No, I don't want green-black. But I've got sepia here. If I show you, I've just quickly made a note here of what I've got, and I'm going to put a note in one of these as to which pen has got which colour in. At the moment, because it's going to change once the inks run out. I may refill it. I may go on and try another colour, which is the wonderful thing about refillable fountain pens. So I've got, this has got Oxblood in it, which is a lovely red brown, which you can see there. This one's got the sepia in, which is this lighter colour. So let's have a look. One of the things I wanted to share, oh gosh, it's not going to flood out, is it? Shouldn't, yeah, I've got ink that's come down the bottom. That's not good. Obviously bashed it or something, right? Some tissue here will work wonders. Just soak that excess up so it doesn't end up on my, hopefully. So it doesn't end up on my paper here. Look. No, it doesn't seem to be wanting to come out, but yeah, so that's okay then. It is what it is. So what I wanted to show here are some more, well, they're likely to be seeds and weird things. So these are some seeds that I drew today. Okay. Well, they could be seed pods because I put stems on them, but here I'm not going to. I'm going to put a bit of a circular bit at the end, or at the bottom rather. Just zoom in for you. and at the top. And at the top I'm going to put a little spike on, like so. And then in the middle I'm going to draw a boxy shape. So add some line weight to get some dimension in. Oh, I know what I meant to get out before I started were the chalk pastels. No worries. Like this, but I want it to look like there's a seed inside, so I'm going to put some shading in there to give that feeling that there might be something inside. So that's quite cute. I like these. I also quite fancy putting a little safety blobble at the end, because nobody wants to get stuck, do they, with such a sharp point. So I'll do that with that one. Okay, squares. So what about other shapes in a similar way? Oh, I know I forgot. I want these to appear kind of like little rounded boxes. So I'm just putting some little lines in the corners, just to give that feeling that these are domed upwards. Yeah, just a bit. So let's do a triangular one, same kind of way. So just to remind you, I add weight to lines to the left and bottom on the top and right on the inside. Then I'm going to add some little lines that suggest shadow there. Let's add these on as well. I'm going to add circles tops and bottom, and I am just going to add a little thingy on there, little spiky thing, like so. Got space in these to actually put a dot in these ones mostly, because that then makes it look like it's catching light, doesn't it? Okay, let's try another triangular one. Slightly different shape, but it's still roughly triangular. And I'm making the inside part where the seed is upside down compared to this one. Simple variation, but it kind of changes the look on it as well. There we go. And again, now where am I going to put corners in? Well, I'm going to do it exactly the same, but up to that hole again. So if I can do that with the triangle, how about if I vary where the square is in the middle? Simple variations here. Nothing complex about these, but they do give a different result, which you may or may not prefer. I never quite know until I try things out how they're going to work out. I might think it was a good idea at the time, but then do it and go, no, I prefer the first one. It's got potential in different ways, I think, because instead of using lines to the corners, like I've done, and I think what I'll do here is just put my shadows on the same side now, as if that is just sticking upwards. You can see, hopefully you can see the difference where I've put the lines has. And with this one I'm just going to attach that little thorny spike, possibly there. And I'm going to put a little aura around this. And let's put some lines in, which will become vertical at the top and bottom and horizontal at the sides. We just need to slowly move them around to that orientation, keeping them slightly bent. And so that gives a different feeling to our little seed, as would an outer aura. I can have that going above it, can't I? Why not? That there. And perhaps inside here we'll have a long thin seed. Perhaps with a stripe in it. Perhaps this is connected in this kind of way. Yeah. So that's open to other ways of adding perhaps texture. So instead of solid lines or lines with a break in the middle, I'm going to add lines composed of dots. Another way of suggesting there's something that the seed is nestled into or is held in place by, which is quite fun. Okay, I've done squares. Simple variation again. What about diamonds? The only difference is with the diamonds we're putting that thorny bit at the top or on one of the points. I think I quite like doing a border, and then with this one I'm just going to do a little shape that looks a bit like a bean. Even put a little shadow there, and then we can work out ways of connecting this, perhaps by adding some line weight here. And I'm going to keep the lines quite far apart on this one. Definitely going to the corners and then halfway between them, I think is about right. So we've got a different kind of feeling there. And of course what I've done with the squares you can do with the triangles as well. You know, classic shapes. We've got circles, and again we can put a different shaped seed in. Put one in that looks a bit like a sunflower seed, I suppose. I'll thicken some of these lines up so it looks like we've got darker areas and lighter areas. And I'm going to attach that to the outside with some little lines like this, and then perhaps just some like this, keeping the line straight. This time, just to compare and contrast with the others. And that one's got a curly kind of thing on it. So let's have a look at another circular one. And I will put a seed in the middle that looks more like a seed, which I could have done with all of these. Bear in mind, you know, it's you know, you can do anything you like. And I'm just going to again keeping it fairly simple here. But at the top I'm going to put something similar to my last video, and then we can add perhaps an outside kind of frilly, lacy, well, it's not very frilly and lacy, but a kind of something that would be like you know, the wings you get on sycamore seeds or maple seeds. I'm not sure which, I should know which tree has seeds that are a bit like this, but my brain isn't functioning at the moment on that one. But there are ones that are like this that are airborne. And I haven't got anything in the way of shadow in here, so I want some around here. Like so, and perhaps some here. And if I thought about it, I could have drawn narrower lines on this part to give it that lighter, lacier feeling. But it kind of works. So we've got those, and the classic kind of shape is like this, isn't it? The seed pods is like this. That. Perhaps that on the end. And here, that could have a little one there. Excuse me, I'm fidgeting today. I'm in a fidgety mood. Brain thinking now. Like that. Looks like a pip, doesn't it? So from the side here, I'm just going to take something out. I'm going to draw around this with a wavy line, like that. You see it doesn't meet at the top either. That's where our little thorny bit's going to come out of, our little stem that was attached to the tree. If we want to imply that, or attach to the plant, we can do this. And then let's add some dotted lines on the bottom of the wavy bits that would perhaps attach back to the seed itself to hold it all in place. This needs some line weights like so, and then you can add texture or pattern or just colour in there. Not quite sure what I do there. This is great, but I find that the outside and the inside are too similar, and I'd want something quite distinct and different, and so I think you want to use a different kind of way of connecting them. Yes, I'm using my pen upside down. I don't think it damages the nib as long as you don't press too hard, but the other side of the nib will give you a lighter line. So that's giving me a different texture, what makes it quite distinct. So I've got quite a few of these going on. And there are other shapes. I mean, other shapes are hexagons. I'm just putting a squarish kind of seed in the middle. And we can connect that with dotted lines to the corners. Perhaps put a little border around it. Little bit on the top. Just a little bit at the bottom. Some shadow around the outside of this one. Perhaps on the inside here. So this looks like a raised edge to it, like a sturdy frame around it. What other shapes do we have? We could have moon shapes, which look like seeds themselves, but let's pop a seed inside there. Like so. Some line weight. Perhaps our thorny bit comes off the end here. And then I'm not going to take the lines right to the edge, we're going to imply there's a kind of border here perhaps. Something a bit different. if I was to draw any one of these, so let me take one of, we do a square one, and let's draw it quite big. Doesn't have to be a perfect square. I've drawn that one deliberately wonky, so it's more of a trapezoid. And the square or the seed doesn't have to be directly in the middle either, does it? It can be anywhere you want it to be. I'm just going to put a border around my little seed. And then I could fill this in with pattern here. So let's use some print on. Maybe not the best choice of pattern, but bear in mind that it's all about adding texture and density of ink. So round, as I get closer to the edges that are in shadow, I'll put smaller ones in. They've got tighter curls. So you've got more ink in a given space, which adds that shadow. Like there. Or I can just make the lines get closer together around each individual spiral. And then colour can bring things out. I also feel this will need a bit of an edge to it, and I'm going to make my edge a little bit as if it's a little bit frilly and lighter, and perhaps, and of course my little thorny bit or the stem on which it was attached, that's a bit bizarre. I'm not so keen on that one. The idea was there. So there's all kinds of seeds here, these kinds of seeds. And again, it's about playing around with things and seeing what you like. I mean, a classic one for me to do, which isn't so much of a seed as it is an individual motif, I suppose a fragment of a pattern. And these could all work out as fragments of patterns as well, you know. So I'm just going to put the square seed in there, and then I'm going to do well like this. Yeah. So you could do this in any of them, it would work. And I'm just going to aura these. Not very well in one case, but I'm not too worried about that. Sketchbook, just as an idea. And it's almost like the seed is held in place by almost like a camera shutter, and it's just beginning to open. So that's quite fun as well. There we are, little thingy there. Trying to think what other ones would work there, anything really. So let's have a look. Let's do a circular one. And for these kinds of fillings, I do like filling patterns. I do like to use borders because it helps to keep one thing separate from another, if you know what I mean. You know, so this is distinctly a seed, whereas around here it's just the pattern. So let's have a look at doing some. This is kind of crescent moon, isn't it? This, I'm going to do one the other way round, if you get my meaning. To fill those little bits in there, those little spaces, with some ink. So it looks like we've got something underneath this. And I'm just going to go back and aura these very lightly here. And it looks again like these are parts that were hiding the seed until it was ready to, I'm not going to say hatch, until it's ready to be dispersed. And so they're opening. If I do that pattern the other way round, I'm doing the same thing. So instead of having these pointing inwards, pointing outwards, it turns into a kind of flower. Which is fine if that's what you would like. This Oxblood is lovely ink. It really is lovely. I'm thoroughly enjoying this colour. I think once my little bottles have run out, just before they run out, I'll be ordering a big bottle of this colour. And of the Aurora Borealis, I think. Not so sure about the grey black. It's a bit too close to black for me. But it's all good fun. This one here, oh gosh. That one's got some ink. It's okay. Right. Yeah, I've managed to get some in this cap, but it'll be fine. This is the sepia. Much lighter colour and great for combining with a darker colour to add texture. Because the darker lines stand out and the lighter ones just are there to add that interest. So something else that can be done is to use a different colour for different parts of the design. So if I go back to this square one, where I used print on around the seed, and I'll put a more traditional seed in because perhaps that is a little bit lost in there, perhaps, whereas this one is more visible as the seed. And then instead of using the Oxblood to fill that in, I'll use the sepia. And what interestingly may happen is, like there, because I drew across the Oxblood, the ink's picked up a little bit of the Oxblood, so I'm going to get variations in colour. Unexpected variations. And I think that will be exciting with these water-based inks. Something else for me to work with, make a note of when I'm done playing around. Now that one I prefer much more to this one. Yeah, because the seed is still there, and that's become more of a background texture, which will go more background should I add colour to it. Any other shapes I could use for these seeds? Well, yes, whatever shape you can draw, you can use. But you know, I like these, so let's move along to some others. So one I do like doing. So I'm going to draw a circle, like so. And then I'm going to follow this around. I'm going to leave that line and start to spiral in, like so. And I'm going to go around that way with the spiral and back out, like this. And this is where line weight is really helpful. It looks like a crazy lollipop that's come out of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Hypnotising lollipop. But if we put shadow like this, so how would I explain what I've done? So on this part of the spiral, the first line I drew in, I've thickened the line to the left and bottom, and then on the way back out I've thickened it to the right, top and right. Okay, so top and right, and then that gives some shading going on there, and I'm just going to run that down round like that, and then I'm going to notice I'm drawing a teardrop shape kind of outside bit in. It's got some torn and raggedy edges, quite deliberately I have to say. I am going to put a cheeky aura in around this now, like so, and I will add some line weight to the left and bottom, and I'm going to do line weight to the left and bottom all the way around this. To the bottom there, that's a bottom, that part's a bottom, that part's a bottom. Might want to add some weight part way up this, that's a bottom, that there is a bit of a bottom, one line, like so. And then, how about if I use my other ink to add the broken lines in here. See, I am getting, that's just come actually from the lid, so that's all right. There's something rather engrossing about this. There's something rather, I don't know whether it's magical is the word I'm thinking of, or surprising. Something like that, where you're just trying things out. You don't know quite how it's going to work out, but just drawing on patterns you like, ways of adding texture and so on that you like, and just seeing what will happen. And the end result is never quite, no, I don't like this one, but adding some shading to it, colour, might change that. And here I am going to go back here and I'm going to fill one part of this spiral with some texture. I could have just coloured this in entirely, but I quite like adding texture because it's still got some light here, and it's just something nice about it. And it's also very good practice for hand-eye coordination, fine motor control, you know, all that kind of stuff as well. So that's really brought that out. There you are. So even when it looks confusing, it isn't once you're finished. There we go. I like that. I do like I've just discovered now how much I like using two different coloured inks. That is fun, fun, fun. It is. Okay, so this is just a different way of doing sort of like seeds, similar to what I did yesterday with you, I think. Yes, yes, it is. Okay, so a flower. Or a flower that could be a series of 3 seed pods if you wished. Start with concentric circles, and in the middle one I'm going to put this as a kind of dark spot that is anchors at the centre. I'm now going to put 3 lines equidistant-ish around here, and because it's a little help, I don't normally do this myself these days, but sometimes I do, but it's a help for you. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to draw some lines that go in between these outlets. There's a reason for this. And perhaps a smaller circle here. And it's not something I would normally do, but it might help. So I'm going to go up here to the top here, okay, to the outer ring, and then I'm going to draw this kind of shape, you know, the half of a proper, or you know, a kind of leaf shape like that. And I'm starting to curve it more or less when I start to hit this line. I'm not doing that very well, but it's a starting point. So this will go up to the vertical part here and back down towards where it joins and in. And then I'll take that up, I'll put a little dot there, somewhere to aim for, and then back down and in. And then I've got this lovely little flower. Now I can leave that as it is. These little lines here, well, I'm going to turn them into little lumps. I'm not sure what else you can call them. Little lumps of ink. Inky lumps. Inky bumps. Okay. So that would be fine as it is. But I'm going to aura these because it makes life a bit more interesting in the middle. I'm going to add some ink around here and around here. To the left and bottom of all of my... See, here's the left, and this is the bottom. Left and bottom. And this one is just the bottom. Let's join them together with some ink where the petals join. And that's added something that's quite nice. But what I could do here is on the top of these, I'm going to put another little one of these kind of seed shapes in. Like so. And perhaps put a smaller shape like just like that inside. With a little sparkle there, and then we've now got a seed pod. And to convert that to a seed pod, I'll just draw some lines that go around this, like so, and perhaps double it up. Like so. And then I shall get my other pen and I'm just going to add some stripes on the sides that are curved to suggest this has got some volume to it. The more you curve them, the more volume it has. So, and just one more there. Yeah. I'm having so much fun with this now. I must really get my dippy pens working so I can use my waterproof ink for things like this as well. So in the next video, if I can get that working this afternoon, or get me working with them, as in I'm sure it's operator error, then perhaps in the next video I'll be working with those. And I think it'll be time then to put some of these patterns together to create some kind of image, maybe. And of course you're able to do that yourselves, I'm sure. Shouldn't doubt yourselves so much, people. I've seen some fantastic stuff done. And it's lovely to see people put their own spin on my work and using what I do as a starting point. That's why I share this. So there's a seed pod like this, which is really 3 seed pods. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw beside it another version, quite simply, that is going to be just the flower as it was. We can see how we get from something like this to that, just one step at a time, going, okay, then I want to add more to this. I want to create something that's more. And of course, the variations are endless, as they are with everything. So there's that one done. What else have I got? This bit. Oh, I've definitely got some things that are a bit different, and I'm going to add them. Let's add them to this, because that's precisely what I did in my drawing. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting a series of circles around the edge of this. I'm only going to put 5 in, and then we're going to look at what we can do to vary these. Okay, so I'm just filling in the spaces where they join this. And that helps to emphasize these cracks as well. And we can actually make them longer as well to bring those out if we wish. I'm going to add some ink to the left and the bottom of them. And I'm also going to go and add some smiles and a dot at the bottom of each, like so. So that gives them a feeling of volume automatically. Now then, I'm going to draw from the top two lines that are quite narrow together. I don't know if you noticed, I followed this around and then drew this, and again here, so it gives this kind of curve at the bottom of them. You can draw them straight, it's perfectly fine. And this is where things happen at the end. So what I'm going to do here, in the first instance, I'm going to draw a shape we're familiar with, like this. And I'm going to go and do the same here. Now they could be longer, these bits shorter. Doesn't matter, don't get hung up on making them identical. I mean, that one's much more triangular shape than the others, but it's fine. Oh, here's a dinky one, a dutty one. They look like little trees, don't they? Like so. And I'm just going to show different ways that I could add interest to these. So on this one, I'm adding some stripes, like so. And I will go back and fill them in. Like so. And this one, perhaps I'll join that in there and add inner lines like that. And don't forget, we can add line weight as well to help with that feeling of shadow and dimension. I'm going to perhaps extend this inside a little bit, and then I'm going to perhaps add some auras around that. So I join the side and just carry on going up. Not my favourite, but you know, every now and again you think I'm going to see what happens, and I go, but you may like it. And it's personal preference, isn't it? Because your art should express you, not me, you. Okay, and this one, I'm going to carry on with this, but I'm going to create a spike in there. I'm going to colour a lot of that in, so it looks like the stem of a leaf. And this one, I'm going to do what I did in the drawing. I'm just going to put a line in there like that. So they're quite fun. Now then, there's a lot of space between them and it doesn't look very populated, so let's go back and add some different shapes. So I've got a circular one here, and again I'm just going to have that going up inside and perhaps just put one of these in. I'm going to add dots to the bottom for shading as well as a thicker line, but perhaps allowing these dots to fade out towards the top. Perhaps a few more just around the top edge because there'll be some shadow there, but working around where there would be a highlight, like that. So a different way of adding texture. It's called stippling. The finer the dots are, the closer you can get them together. The bigger the dots, the wider apart you need them sort of, but the more ink they put down. And it's all about density of ink and getting shadow and highlight in. So where there's no ink, you'll have a highlight. Where there's dense dots, you'll have a shadow. And of course you could go as far as using solid colour. Okay, so another shape. This one's going to be interesting because I'm going to splay the bottoms out, but then I'm going to go to the top, a bit like an arrowhead. And like an arrowhead, I'm going to put an arrow inside, because I can. Again, let's just add line weight to all of these as I go, to the left and bottom. So that's the left there. That's the left there, that's the bottom, and that's the bottom all the way along. Bottom, left, there. Got a left there. A bit of a shadow needed there. The rest I've done. Except not here, because that's left and that's left. That's okay then. Okay. So another one. This one I'm going to finish it. I'm going to put a little cap on the top like so, but at the top I'm going to put a heart shape because I can, for no other reason. Of course you could put any shape you want to here. And that reminds me then of, there's a Zentangle pattern, isn't there, that sort of starts like this. You put a circle around it, then another one, then another one, and gradually you work your way out. And by making one side wider than the other, you eventually get this kind of twisting and spiralling, and making them smaller. I'm not sure what it's called. I don't know if it's Zinger or another one like that. You can do things like that as well if that's what you like to do. But working this all the way round would create a really weird and wonderful kind of flower seed. But I'd keep all of them the same around. But that the possibilities just with a simple shape like this of how you fill it in, I say are endless. They most probably aren't endless, but they're getting there, aren't they? Okay, so we've got quite a few things going on here. Do I want to add any more? Not at the moment, but I am going to go and get my chalk pastel, so give me a moment. I don't have to go too far, literally 2 steps there and 2 and a bit back so I don't fall on my chair. So I've got reddy browns here, so what colour shall I use? I have got a reddy brown, which would be nice. I've also got a yellow ochre. But I'm also thinking to have some red. I've got a lovely reddy orange here that I think would work. Yes, I think, yes. Yes, I think so. I'm not going to go for pink. I've got a purpley red colour, like a mauve colour. That could work, actually. And I've got white, but we'll have a look at white later on if I want to. So, excuse me, you know the drill. There's that one, needed a bit of a sharpen. That one does. And then this one, the ochre-ish one, does as well. Next job. My next job is tortillons. So I have some here. And I'm not too worried if they've been used for other colours previously. But I will get one out that I can use with graphite if I wish. Because I might put some graphite down before I do anything else, right, where is that Pitt Pastel? I had one here yesterday. Where have I put it? There. That does need a bit of a sharpen as well, so I will apologise in advance now for the noise, but I've done now. I'm not making any more noise with my sharpener. I'm done. The only other thing I want to do is where I've used pencil on this one. I just want to take it off. And I think this one here is where I'm going to start, because I've got 3 petals or 3 seeds here, and I'm going to add just graphite to one for shading. Okay, and we'll see how that looks. I'll add graphite to another, and then add some chalk pastel afterwards, and we can compare and contrast that. Obviously, if you haven't got chalk pastels, don't go out and buy any unless you really are so inclined and you can afford them. Any kind of material to add colour, shadow, highlight with, use what you've got. Use what you like to use. I'm still trying to hone in on what I like. And to be honest with you, a lot of what I like is digital art, so when it comes to adding colour. But I can't really do that here. So I'm putting some shade in there. Around the edge, I'm just trying to keep the graphite right to the very edge of this. I don't want to go too far, which means this may have been the wrong choice of tortillon. It's got quite a big point on it. Okay, I am going to use some of this lovely purpley reddish colour on this now, just to add shadow. And I'll go here as well. I can feel how the paper's changed with the graphite. It's a lot harder to put the chalk down. But let's have a look and see how this works over the graphite. Colour is there, but it's very dulled down. It's better than, to my mind, it's nicer than graphite alone. But it's not my kind of thing, really. I'd much prefer to have chalk on its own, so that's what I've got here. Trying to leave some highlights. And I think what I'm going to do with these here, and these, I'm just going to add some of this yellow ochre in, just to pick those colours up. I've got this one which had the red on, but if they mix, I don't mind. There we are. So that's there. The colour does bring it to life quite nicely. This one, put some of this darker colour at the base of them. I'll put some of this orange colour above it. Like so, and ochre at the tip, because we can do that, and then I'll blend them all together with my tortillon. So start with the ochre, blend it down into the orange, and then down into that lovely red colour. I'm just blowing all the loose stuff away from this so I don't inadvertently move it where I don't want it, as it were, in my hand. There we go. And again, I'm going to just use the ochre, the bottom here, perhaps a little bit there. If it goes over the ink, I'm not worried. I can either choose to come back with the ink pen and go over the lines, or accept it as it is. And in some ways, I most probably will want to accept it as it is. And you can see the difference in dimension between this one and this one. The graphite works on its own. It works when it's got colour on it, and the colour alone works to bring, well, mostly to bring the dimension out. I do need to go back. That's the brown. That's the purpley red colour. And just add some more chalk around the edge here where I've rubbed it out perhaps a little bit too much. So let's go back and just blend it in. That's a bit better. And of course I can add white highlights afterwards. I'll do that with the my gel pen. This one not so much. I do think I could think about where I'd make the lines thicker, because I haven't done that on this one. And just add some graphite in. There's the graphite. And then that just adds that shadow there. And highlight, white chalk. So put some highlight around this edge, and that edge too. And again, I'll just gently work that in so it's not going to smear and spread, though I will put some white dots on there. So that worked, in fact. Let's add a bit more and just there we go. That'll be all right. Okie dokes. I'm not going to do every single one because time is marching on. I've got a brown colour here which I'm going to use on the inside here, around the inside of this wing of the seed. I'm not sure if it is called a wing, but I'm going to have to look that up now. It's intrigued me. What do we call the parts of seeds? It's not something I can bring to mind as if I've learnt it before necessarily. I must have sometime. So again, I'm trying to keep the colour towards the edge, but I don't want a strong line there. I want to blend it out a little bit just to get rid of the line from the chalk pastel pencil, but also to give a softer edge to the area. Because we're not doing hard stripes here. This is mainly to give an indication that this thing has got colour to it, but also to bring out a shadow. And instantly that brings that to life. Don't need to do anything else. Well, I do, because I want to add some to this, top and bottom. And then we've got that inner spiral and the little things there. So that's got a little spot of highlight on that. The inner spiral I think I'm going to do with some this yellow ochre, and I'm going to put it sort of towards the left and bottom. I've started going round the outside area as well here. The border bit this here, so I probably would do that ochre, but I can go and add a little bit of a darker colour. I might add just some of this lovely orange and blend that out, just to give it a difference from the spiral. There, that works. And then in there I'm going to leave those white spots as white for now. What about these? Okay, the bottom bits here, let's make those brown as well. Again, I want to try and leave a highlight, so I'm going to work around the highlight area. So really giving a very light area there, and then just trying to buff out that a little bit. So that white, that brightness is the highlight, and that will give the high spot there. On the stems, I don't have to make them brown again. In fact, they may be lighter. But I can also add a little bit of brown, perhaps for shadow at the base, and mix it in with the ochre as I blend it out. So let's start with the ochre. A little goes a long way with chalk pastels. Again, if you need more, you can always add more. It's the same with every colouring medium, just about. It's harder to take it away. I know you can erase this as long as you haven't sort of like buffed it in too hard, but it's a lot easier if you start by not adding too much in the first place. And I'm using a tortillon that's got quite a nice sharp end to it. So I've added orange on that one. The next one here, I'm going to add this lovely colour. Just going to put a little bit here on the upper bit so that we'll get some blending around. I do want to leave a white spot. I'm getting some of the orange mixed in with this, and I'm fine with that. It's an actual, you know, it's an unexpected variation, but a not unwelcome one as well. And then this bit here, I'm just going to add, hopefully add some ochre, like so. So that's quite nice. Okay, let's do this heart. Going to add colour around the outsides, and I'm going to try to leave an area there where there's not a lot of colour. There's that little natural highlight that's there. And I can go back and add a bit more of this if I want to then, just to create a darker area at the bottom, because I've blended that out quite a bit. And these little bits here, I'm going to do them the same colour, simply because it makes sense to. Okay, so this one here, nope, let's use the brown, the bottom and the top. Well, the highlight will mostly be in the central one, so we need a little bit of shading to either side. We've got the highlight there. This one is very strange, but I'm going to use brown, and I'm going to go, because it will disguise a lot of these lines, so they just become a background pattern and don't influence where the highlight is particularly. So we've got that going on, which works. Oh, this one here. I think this one here just has to have orange, like a lovely berry, autumn berry. The chalk will dull the little stipples down a bit, but I'm happy about that as well. And I do think I want to add some of the darker colour where the shadow's the greatest, just to really intensify that shadow. So I'm just going to go back and do that. Like that. That's cute. This one. There and on the other side. So to this side here and here. Trying to keep the brightest area on that top edge. I've not quite managed it, but I've got choices. Excuse my arm going across. I can just remove like I can with all of them, I can go back and remove some of the chalk with an eraser, just to bring the highlight out where perhaps it's not as bright as I'd like it. Same here, I suppose. But once you've buffed things in, it can be quite difficult to do that. The graphite will come off quite easily though, which is a blessing. So here I can bring those highlights out on that one, as can you. So these I'd do in a similar way. So let's move on to something different. What about this one here? I think I'm going to use the orange to give some shadowing. And I'm putting the shadows here. No, there. There. So I didn't want any here, so I'll do what I can to remove that one. Be fine. I want some down here as well, so I'll use what I've got on my tortillon for that. This part here is where these overlap. So I'm only taking the colour down to where the dots and the break are. Put some the orange there, but I think I want a darker shadow at the base. So I'm going to use the brown around the edges here. And then I will just move that out. So we've just got that darker colour there for the shadow where it's dipping underneath the end. So that works nicely. And I will, which way is our bottom? My bottom's here for this as well. So that's the basic. I mean, round the edge, I'm going to add ochre. Put it diagonally actually, and just spread it out. So I get some variation in colour, but I'm not paying attention to where highlight and so on are. It's just wherever it happens to fall. So that works quite nicely. I could put ochre in these parts as well, but I'd want to leave some highlight where the highlight is on the centre as well. Okay. Which one now? Let's have a look at this one, because this one and this one, because I didn't like these, did I? So here I'm going to put shadow on the inside here. Maybe not on the outside, so I'm going to add quite a bit of shadow there. And I may just very well put some ochre around it so we get some fading that way. Okay, let's have a look. So start with the ochre and fade that out somewhat. Taking it out towards the edge. If it doesn't get completely to the edge, I'm not going to be upset. And then I can blend the brown in. And start with the ochre, Angela. Otherwise we'll get blending out a mixture of ochre and brown, and we don't want that particularly. It's brown there, but I'm alright with that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneakily go in with my eraser and just clean a bright area out of highlight. So that works. And the inner bit, I'm going to use a different colour. I'm going to use this orange and just use that for this seed. I'm going to use some of that darker purpley reddy colour, mauve-y colour as well afterwards, just to add some extra. Not that one, that one. Some extra shadow here at the bottom and around this at the top. Like so. Don't have much of a highlight on this, so I can just use my eraser to put one in. And then around the seed right in the middle, I'm going to put ochre on these ones as easily, as nicely as I can. Very narrow. It just adds some colour there, and I will take my eraser and just clean that up. And that's something you can do in places as well, is if you don't want the colour on your coloured ink or your ink, you can just use an eraser to remove it. I like blending these colours quite a bit, so I'm going to add some orange to this one. It adds a nice depth to the colour. I will do to this one as well. Oh, I quite like that. Okay, any others? Yes, this one, wasn't it? Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to put the brown around the inside, like so. I think I'll put the red around the outside of this area. And let's see how we can get these to blend, but also to leave a highlight perhaps, because they will mostly disguise those, the print on I put in will be slightly hidden by these colours, which is nice. That's a nicer look now. I don't know if you agree. There we go. So I'm just taking some out there for a highlight, but I think I may just put some of the yellow in as a highlight as well, and buff that into the other colours. That actually works quite nicely. So I didn't like that, but now I'm okay with it. I'll just put some colour in my seed. Like that. This one, I wouldn't use such dark colours with this, she says, going for this lovely red. Just put some around the outside and around the inside, and then just a little bit, and then just blend it out just a little bit, so I don't lose all of my pen work. I just add some shadow on the top of it, but with colour. So I like that. Yeah, that works. It does look like this is almost in a cushion. It's very heavy and it's pushing a cushion down. So, 1 hour 20 minutes. God blimey. I was going to do a short video, honest. This one's quite interesting because it was a teardrop shape. It really does look like it's bent, doesn't it? So got some there, and I'm going to put some yellow ochre around the other sides. Let's see how this works out. There we go. That's quite nice. And again, for the middle bit, I'll just put some of the orange in. There we go. Anything else? I think everything else is pretty much, I add colour in pretty much the same way. This one is perhaps the only exception where I'm definitely going to make sure I've got plenty of shadow around the outside edge, because I want these to appear, these petal-like shapes to appear, they're sort of like they're bending upwards. And you may add some of the reddish colour next. Just a bit of it. And then perhaps just some ochre, like so. And we'll start with the bottom, blending these two together and working the pastel into the paper. There's the ochre going at the top. What I'm going to do at the top is I'm just going to use my eraser just to take some of the colour off, just to give it a better highlight, but not all of the colour. I want some of that ochre there. I'm just going to put some of this yellow, or orange rather, around the seed here, just to set it back a little bit. And that works quite nicely, really. That's the only one I would perhaps have some difference with. So let's have a look here. So that's quite nice. Just like that. Perhaps a little bit of yellow on the edges. The yellow ochre. Just, this will be my last bit now. The only other thing I would do, and I know I put these over here. I'm sure I did I? I'm sure I put them in here. Nope, haven't. So I'm hunting a white, oh, I've got a Signo, white Signo will do, possibly. Why did I put those there? Who knows? Who knows? I don't. So I'll just get this, so I can just get this started. Now this will pick up ink, but I can also use it to pop some highlights on, because it won't pick up the chalk. So here I am going to put it across the sepia ink, knowing that the white may very well dissolve some of that sepia ink, which means I'll get lovely golden brown dots there instead of white, which kind of makes some sense if you think about it. Some white there, white there, white there, white there. Put some white there. I'm also going to put dots of white at the top here. Yeah, it is sort of dissolving some, but I can live with that. On the chalk, these will remain beautifully white. Like so. This one. Big dot at the top, smaller dots fading away. Like so. Add some in there, and perhaps a couple of dots around that. Add some white dots here because it will show up against the paper because the paper's been stained with some chalk. Remember I or what you called it, erased some of it away. Yeah, I think I can just put some highlights on the top there. And I may just pop some highlights on some of these spirals. No rhyme or reason, just a couple here and there. Put a dot there, the rest is fine. This one, let's put some white dots there and perhaps some down in between the other ones. So we're going stripy. Lovely breeze blowing in at the moment. The air was quite still last night, so I was getting quite warm in bed, even though it wasn't that cold. I didn't have too good a night's sleep, but I'm not too bad. Feeling hungry though, so I'm going to have to go and feed myself soon. What time is it? Oh gosh, it's 1:30. Okay, so I'm going to put highlights on this spiral where the light colours are, and the same with this outer bit. So that would make sense. I'll come back to those parts there. This one will have perhaps a big dot and a smaller one, just to bring that out. Yeah, I'm going to do a series of dots down the highlights. Just a couple there as well. Up the middle. Along there. Here. Along the edge. And then perhaps here a bit. This one, the highlights are going to be around here really, aren't they? And perhaps some that go around in there. Got those. Now I said I was going to do something to those little bits there. I'm going back into my box of all kinds of pens. And hopefully, no, not that one. How about this one? Yes. Oh, that'll be nice. This is a dual metallic hybrid gel ink pen from Pentel, and this one is red gold. So this will, I think, go really nicely with the Oxblood, even if it picks up some of the ink. I haven't really left enough space between these dots, so I may end up with just a whole streak of golden red glitter. But do you know what? I think I could be fine with that. Let's have some sparkle. It's the only place I'm going to have sparkle. So, I don't know if you can see if it's picking it up. It's sort of picking it up. There we go. Look at that. It's lush, isn't it? I can actually put a couple more dots down in that part. And I'm wondering whether I can put some elsewhere. I'm just looking. No, I'm not. I'm going to behave. I know, shock horror. I'm behaving myself. Even I'm surprised at that one. And if I can find it, I'm hunting my clear glaze, which is there. That is a clear glaze, yes. Yes, it is. And so I'm just going to go back with this, get the end cleared off of the plastic coating that appears on there. And then I'm just going to dot over this glitter. Whether the glitter's dry or not, I do not know, and I do not care, because they will all end up covered in glaze anyway, because they're so close together. But if I can do this by flooding over the glitter area with the glaze pen, without moving it around, the glitter stays pretty much in place. The glaze on non-porous surfaces, so like wood and metal and plastic, it dries very much with a dome top. On paper, because it's porous, it sort of like dries a bit flatter, but it still has a bit of a raised texture. You can feel it. But that will seal that glitter in, and also it will pick up some of the Oxblood ink and add that to the mix. It'll take a wee while for that to dry. So the only thing that's left for me to do is to find somewhere to add my initials, which will be here. And I'll put the date down here, and today is the 24th. 24th of August 2023, because yeah, we put the number before the month here in the UK. I know in America you do it the other way round, the month before the number, which confuses the heck out of me, because this is the only way I've known we do it, and it's the scientific way of doing dates as well. And there we are. So we've got another page full of variations. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you give some of these a go, and more importantly, I hope you try some variations of your own, because you may have some ideas as you're drawing and you think, oh, I'll try this, I'll do that, I'll see what happens if. Some of these will be great to put together as a grid pattern, you know, the regular shapes like the hexagon, squares, triangles would look fantastic as gridded patterns. You know, they're not just seeds, they can be used in so many ways. And you know, they can be used as individual motifs, they can be turned into other things. And some of the ideas might work really nicely as backgrounds. I really like these, and I'll show you this again. And you can see that's what I did here. And then this are my variations. Let me move that over. So these are my variations of what I could have done. And I didn't think, you know, I was thinking at the time, oh, what could I do instead of this? Which is why I chose to do this today, because it's starting to give me those ideas as well. So thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to our next time together. So until then, be well, be content, and above all else, well, I say above all else, as much as the others, be creative. Bye-bye for now. Bye.